Hello, I'm Locke Meredith. I'd like to invite you to join me on the next Legal Lines where my guest is Keyon Janani. He's going to talk to us about CBD oil. What is it? It comes from the hemp plant, the same plant that you get marijuana. Is it legal? Yes. Is it regulated? Yes, by federal government and our state. Do you need a doctor to get it? No. So we're going to talk about CBD oil with Keyon Janani on the next Legal Lines. Legal Lines has interviewed Louisiana Supreme Court justices, appellate trial court judges, federal, state, and local government leaders, including U.S. senators and Congress members. Watch at Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates website, LockeMeredith.com, or Cox Channel 1004.
At Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates, it's an honor and a privilege if you choose us to serve you.
We serve you with respect, dedication, and an unwavering commitment.
We serve you by working hard and striving to get you the best possible results.
We serve you using 60-plus years of legal knowledge, experience, and relationships.
At Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates, we believe that life is about relationships, and it's the mission and ministry of all of us to serve you. Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates has served our community by airing Legal Lines, a community educational program for 18 years weekly to Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas. Watch Legal Lines at LockeMeredith.com or Cox Channel 1004. Hello, welcome to Legal Lines. I'm very pleased to have on the show for the very first time Keyon Janani. We're talking about a very interesting subject. It's called CBD oil, and it seems to be a hot thing. Keyon, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. It's a really interesting topic, and I'm really curious how you got into this because your education is, from a kind of university standpoint, is electrical engineering. So explain to folks, your kind of your background and how you ended up in the CBD business.
Yeah, well, growing up, my family was in the medical field. They started with pharmacies and physical therapy clinics. So from a young age, I was involved with the management and development of physical therapy clinics, was involved with that actively. My first job was actually at one, and we just always saw the people coming in with pain, issues, trying to get better, but there's never really a great solution for it. And then I moved on, went to grad school in Colorado, and while I was there, my now mother-in-law mentioned that she had her doctor prescribe her medical marijuana to use.
Because Colorado, it's legal.
Yeah, completely legal there. And she used it one time, hated it, couldn't stand it, and
because she got high?
It was getting her high, it was giving her, she didn't enjoy the feeling of it. She also didn't enjoy her opiates. She didn't enjoy a lot of the medications they had her on. And so her physician referenced her to just use pure CBD that didn't have the THC that makes you high in it.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So I guess the way you got into it was because of the family medical businesses, and you were exposed to folks with pain. Then your mother-in-law, you kind of actually hear about it, the difference between her, I guess, reaction to marijuana and then the CBD oil.
Yeah.
And so what was the explanation? I mean, what is the difference between marijuana and the CBD oil?
Well, marijuana and CBD, CBD is in marijuana.
Okay.
It's part of the plant, but the thing that gets you high, the thing that makes marijuana is the THC. THC gives you that euphoria, that high sensation, but that's not really useful from a medical standpoint. That doesn't treat your symptoms. When they use medical marijuana in some states, that's the CBD is the main actor there. And so what the federal government's recently legalized, which is hemp-based CBD, has little to none of the THC, so you can't get high from it.
It's fascinating because I was reading on the materials you had provided to me, and I've seen all these commercials about the stuff, and I didn't know what it was, and asked you to educate me. And the bottom line is there's this measure, right, that you decide whether or not it's legal in Louisiana anyway, or what defines or differentiates it. That is the CBD oil versus the marijuana.
Yes.
Explain to folks.
So the federal guidelines on it is that 0.3% THC is considered, or above, is considered marijuana. At that point, the federal government has seen that you can get high off of larger quantities of it.
Define high. When somebody says I'm high or I'm getting high.
Euphoric.
Okay.
Euphoric is probably the best term.
Having some kind of mental effect.
Yeah, a mental effect where you feel giddy. That's why people associate with like people sitting on the couch laughing, giggling a lot. all of that makes you out of your normal mental state.
Okay. Affects your mental state.
Yeah.
In what
in
some
an
people would say is a
impairing way.
negative way.
Well, it's
Impaired
impairing.
way.
You
Okay.
can't drive a car.
It's like being intoxicated.
Absolutely. It's considered being intoxicated. In states that have legalized it, same exact rules as drinking alcohol.
Okay.
So the federal government said, if you're below a certain threshold, there's not enough THC in there to get intoxicated. And
Makes
as a
sense.
result, you can consume it safely. You can operate machinery, go to work, drive your car. There's no cognitive impairment to cause you to behave differently or to be a risk to yourself or others around you.
Nice distinction.
Yeah.
Kind of worried about the rest of folks that are doing the marijuana, but but anyway. So I guess you researched it, got educated on it. How did you decide to go into this? I know from your own personal experience you want to help people with pain, but explain, what else you did to kind of get up to speed on this and decide this was something you were going to do.
Yeah, well, that was the first time when I spoke to my mother-in-law. It's the first time I had heard of it in this capacity. But I reached back out to my father and some of the people he knows, some of the physicians and pharmacists he knows, and really just talked to them, had some meetings, bring myself up to speed, did my own research on it to see what's going on, how is it impacting people, and is it real, or is it just some fad? And I found out, this is really a useful thing. Physicians who know a lot about it are constantly advising their patients to take it, and then others are curious because they have their patients coming in saying, this is helping. This is doing something for me. What should I do with the rest of my medical practice? And so, as it turns out, the physicians were reaching back out to me, ones that didn't know about it but knew that I had been exploring the space and was looking at starting a company in this. And they said, what do we need to know? How can we get brought up to speed?
Yeah, because you don't want to get in trouble, prescribing something that might harm
Absolutely.
your patients and such.
Well, the big thing is the patients were coming in with different reactions. They were saying, this is working for me, or another one says, well, I started taking this and it did nothing. And across the board, just the results were all over the place. There was no consistency. A lot of the physicians were questioning, is this even safe to...
Or psychosomatic, huh?
Yeah, is it psychosomatic? Is there they have patients coming in who say, well, I started getting migraines, which is something that shouldn't happen if you are just taking CBD. And so there was a big concern of what's really going on? What are they taking? People bring in bottles now that are labeled CBD. Actually, early on, my mother-in-law, she sent me a bottle of what she was taking. She said, is this any good? And you look at the bottle, it's a brown label that just said hemp oil. And that's it. No information, no clue what was in there. And so we took it off. Yeah.
And she's taken something she has no clue.
Well, she sent it to me because that brand, she started having bad side effects out of the blue. And come to find out, it was some concoction of God knows what.
You had it analyzed?
Yeah, we sent it off to be analyzed. There was no CBD in there. There was no THC in there. But we're not really sure what was in there that was causing her to have all these other issues. And it seems like someone said, oh, I can make a pretty penny and I'll just sell it. It was a charlatan playing a game.
So I assume this is over the net or something? A web sale or somebody standing,
This was just at a little store in Colorado.
Interesting.
Little side store.
Like a tobacco store or something.
Yeah, and those people don't know what they're selling. And what we've seen as we've kind of gotten into this and the industry's developed is that it's becoming more and more common. They had a recent study done that showed roughly 50% of the brands in the market right now don't contain either what they say is in there, they don't have enough of it, or they're nowhere near the right kind of thing, whether that means they have THC in them, getting people high on accident, or it means that they have impurities, heavy metals, pesticides, things that you really shouldn't be consuming going in there because someone said, well, I've got the oil, let me just throw it in a bottle and call it a day.
And see what it'll sell for.
Yeah. And
that's scary.
It is.
All right. Well, so it's fascinating to hear that the federal government was recognizing that the CBD oil or component of hemp was helping people, and they were trying to synthesize it because the feds prior to that had made it illegal. And then the feds re-examined this. We'll continue this on the next segment. This is Locke Meredith with Legal Lines, and my guest is Keyon Janani. And we are talking about CBD oil and whether it's real or fake and whether it's safe to take and whether you got to have a doctor prescribe it. We'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Locke Meredith. I'm one of the attorneys here at Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates. One of the many distinguishing factors of our firm is that we are not just one lawyer that you are hiring. We're a team of attorneys. When you hire one of us, we all pull from each other's experiences, knowledge of the law, so that we get you not only a solution to your problems, but the best solution that we can come up with for your problems. So for that reason and many others, I hope that you hire our firm.
Hi, my name is Mitchell Meredith. I'm one of the associate attorneys here at Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates. One of the reasons I love this firm is that the moment you walk through the doors, you're so much more than business. You're family, which means we're going to fight for you as if you're family. At the end of the day, I think what distinguishes our firm from others is we're a firm that is truly personal, professional, and proven.
Hello, welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith. I'm very pleased to have on the show Keyon Janani, and we are talking about CBD oil, whether it's safe or not, whether it's legal to use it or not, and how do you make sure if you decide to try it, whether or not you're buying something that is real and pure and actually what it purports to be instead of some fake. So Keyon, tell me, kind of give me the history, the legal history of CBD oil. How'd we get here?
Yeah, so about 6 years ago, the federal government created the Federal Hemp Farm Bill. And that was in order to try to find out, is there a way forward in this industry? Is there a way to grow cannabis that won't get you high? And so they pursued this for the last 6 years, and they were able to do it. And that's when they decided to put in the threshold of 0.3%. They were able to see that this is able to be done at scale, consistently, and safely to be turned into a product.
Really interesting. So they literally took the typical marijuana plant and figured out a way where it grows without having that level of the get high chemical THC.
Yeah, the difference between hemp and marijuana is actually a legal definition. It's all cannabis, but legally at 0.3% it's called marijuana, and below it's called hemp.
So how do you get it below 3%? Do you put water in it or something, or just the byproduct of making the oil?
It's the genetics. So they grew, this is with the 6 years, they kept growing out strains of cannabis until they got ones that just naturally produced extremely low amounts of THC and yet still had the high amounts of CBD in them. And they said they were able to grow it regularly, consistently. And then on the manufacturing side, it's about making sure that your concentration when you make it stays low.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So tell me, so the feds investigated it and they got what they wanted, and what did the feds regulate? And then I know we've got now, only in the last year or so, right?
Yeah.
Laws for the state of Louisiana that are involved. So explain how this fed state law stuff works.
Yeah, so in 2018, the end of the year, they opened it up with the federal hemp bill that kind of renewed this industry and broadened it. It allowed it to go from just farms that were a few exceptional ones that were given the permission to anyone regulated under a state authority. And so in the last 12 months, this year alone, this industry has blown up. But in the first 6 months of it, none of the states knew what was going on. No one really expected this industry to blow up.
They weren't prepared, huh?
No one was. Everyone who was involved in it was excited. We all knew what it could do, but no one realized, one, how quickly it would spread, how quickly its popularity would gain, and two, how quickly abuse of the industry would occur.
You know what's so interesting? I actually love hearing that society, American citizens were ready to not take opioids and other kinds of medications that can really cause you problems. I'm not in any way putting down folks that have to take that as long as they're under a doctor's care, because they're watching out for their health. But this is something, as I understand it, that does not require a doctor's prescription to get. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So it's regulated currently at the federal level as if it was a supplement. It's not a supplement, especially in Louisiana. It's distinctly stated that it's not a supplement. But all the regulatory authority still follows the same as being a supplement. That means no direct health claims in packaging and whatnot, and also that the products can be purchased without needing a prescription.
So how do we, so I understand it based on our conversation, previously that Louisiana was at the forefront of going ahead and diving into this. So explain that.
Yeah, so it's kind of an exciting thing. From January to June, even in Louisiana, while it wasn't legal, people were selling it everywhere. People were buying it everywhere, but there was no regulation to control how to do that safely and ethically.
Guarantee what you're buying.
Yeah, ethically, and make sure that everyone in line is doing it right. So the legislation passed the rules, and then it was implemented by the ATC, the Department of Health, and the Department of Agriculture in order to create a legal structure that facilitates this industry, that protects consumers, while also allowing companies to grow, allowing the industry to flourish, not to shut it down, nor to leave ways open for people to take advantage of unsuspecting victims.
People in pain who need
Yeah.
help. And so let's talk about each of those agencies that you just named 3 agencies. I think you said agriculture and forestry first. What do those guys watch?
So the Department of Agriculture is in charge of anything that's grown in Louisiana, from when it's a seed until it's turned into a crude product. It's extracted out of plant matter. So they're in charge of licensing, making sure that the farms that are growing this are testing appropriately, that they have registered their acreage to make sure people aren't growing marijuana illegally under the guise of it, and have regular testing to show that everything's being done correctly and enforce it if they're not.
So who does the testing? Is it the farm community, or is it the state coming in with their whatever they do to test it?
It has to be tested through what's called an ISO certified lab, which is a specific kind of laboratory that has certifications approved by Louisiana as well as through federal authorities, in order to say that, you know, they're not just a PDF editor making up numbers, but they're actually doing testing. And the federal government has to go in and verify those reports, and they have to be as they're submitted.
So I assume then it's pretty complicated or difficult to be a grower of the hemp?
In fact, this year, Louisiana was unable, no farmers in Louisiana were able to participate in growing this year. 2020 is going to be the first year that growers in Louisiana will be able to grow hemp.
And the reason nobody was doing it is why? It just takes a while to
The
be,
authority,
I guess, certified?
There was no way to be authorized in time to grow. In fact, because they knew that that wouldn't happen, they delayed everything and they made it official that the licensing for growing wouldn't occur until January 2020. So no one up to this date even is licensed to grow.
So where do you get your source of the plant?
We actually have partners in Colorado that we work with. When I was up there, we met some people who had some good, I guess, ethical practices, and they were involved in the pilot program with the federal government.
Oh, interesting. So they're high quality.
They're high
Trusted.
quality. They knew what they were doing, which is a big thing that a lot of farmers get into, where they'll grow a crop thinking that they're doing a good job, but because it's such a new industry, they accidentally grow something that was high on THC, and they have to remove their whole crop.
Really? Wow, that's got to be tough. So you want to make dadgum sure you know what you're doing before you dive into this.
Test quickly and frequently to make sure you do it right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that deals with the growing of the plant that generates the end product at some point. So the next department of the state of Louisiana is health, right?
Yes.
All right. Tell me what those folks do.
So they're in charge of, I guess, protecting consumers. It's regulated as a supplement somewhat, but can't be called a supplement. So their big thing is to make sure that every product, every single bottle is registered with the state, every label, so there's no misleading information in there. You don't want to have people seeing something that says, oh, this says it's migraine medicine on a bottle, and they take it in lieu of their medication, which is one of the big risks in any new emergent field, in the medical field, is people going against their doctor's recommendations because they know better. Well, so the Department of Health is looking at it strongly from that point of view of saying what's on the label is accurate, it's not misleading or telling people stuff that doesn't have FDA to back it up. The other thing is that everything is tested through a certified lab, as I was saying earlier.
Right.
They have a lot of people putting lab reports on their products that are made up.
All right, well, we'll continue this on the last segment. This is Locke Meredith with my special guest, Keyon Janani. We're talking about CBD oil. Does it help? Does it hurt? And how do you get it if you want to try it? We'll be right back. Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan and Associates has served our community by airing Legal Lines, a community educational program for 18 years weekly to Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas. Watch Legal Lines at LockeMeredith.com or Cox Channel 1004.
Hello, my name is Sean Fagan. And you know, one of the most important considerations in hiring an attorney is considering trust. I believe at our firm, our results speak for themselves. Most of the people we represent come from past clients who have referred friends, family members, other people they love to us to represent them in the same way we represented the persons who referred them. It's the greatest compliment any law firm could get. And I believe that if you come to our firm, we'll earn your trust.
Legal Lines has interviewed Louisiana Supreme Court justices, appellate trial court judges, federal, state, and local government leaders, including U.S. senators and Congress members. Watch at Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan & Associates website, LockeMeredith.com, or Cox Channel 1004.
At Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan & Associates, it's an honor and a privilege if you choose us to serve you.
We serve you with respect, dedication, and an unwavering commitment.
We serve you by working hard and striving to get you the best possible results.
We serve you using 60+ years of legal knowledge, experience, and relationships.
At Locke Meredith, Sean Fagan & Associates, we believe that life is about relationships, and it's the mission and ministry of all of us to serve you. Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith, and we're talking about CBD oil made from hemp plant. Kind of like marijuana, except it's not like marijuana. My guest is Keyon Janani, and Keyon, you were talking about how do we know it's safe, and how do we know when we're buying something it is what it says it is? You were saying the state has 3 departments. Again, quickly summarize that.
Yeah, so there's the Department of Health that's looking after make sure every product is registered with the state, and every project is lab tested through a ISO certified lab that is official. You know, they're also doing their job correctly. And then there's the Department of Agriculture that's governing the grow, and the last one is the ATC, the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission, which is in charge of licensing our whole industry to make sure that everyone is registering with the state to say, hey, we exist and we're following the rules appropriately. Okay, and so you brought samples of what are available from your company. Yeah. Let's talk about, so if I decide, I've heard all good stories, I've asked my doc, he says it seems like something that's worth considering, and I decide to do it. How do they go about getting it? Yeah, so I mean, there's CBD stores all over the state right now. If you look online, there's a list from the ATC. There's currently 1,400 licensed CBD companies in the state. In Louisiana? To sell it. Wow. Which is just a testament to how popular, how many people are looking to find this. And those guys have to be licensed. They're regulated. Yeah, they're all regulated. They meet whatever credentials are required. 1,400 stores following all of the rules and regulations of the state. Okay, I assume there are other folks who are not. Absolutely, and come January 1st, the ATC is actually going to start enforcing the existing rules much more aggressively. They've given us a little window of time for companies to get in accordance with the rules and regulations. Really interesting, yeah. Because you, again, in your mother-in-law's own experience, she bought some brown bag around it and was told it was the right stuff, and it wasn't. It wasn't. It was making her ill. Yeah. And so you better be careful, make sure. So how does a person go about making sure that they're walking into a store and you see one of the bottles up there and it's labeled? How do you make sure? Because people could fake. Yeah. I'm sure there's fraudulent stores everywhere. Absolutely. So there's a few things. Louisiana's the best things about the way we've regulated is if you're going into a store in Louisiana, chances are the product you're buying is safe and is real because it had to have been approved by the Department of Health and the methods they put in place are working. So if I just see a store and they're selling CBD you got to figure, here. I mean, if it's public and open, they got investigators out tooling around trying to find somebody who's not complying, faking it, right? Absolutely. But all right, so is there some type of paperwork or documentation you can ask the store people? Yeah, so anyone who's selling it has to have on display their ATC license. And then also the products that you're buying, if you look at our products here, on the back of them there's QR codes. These are easily scannable codes that link to the lab results to show that what is listed on the bottle's label is actually in the bottle. Okay, and you said on the website there's actually a list, the name and locations of all the stores that have been deemed acceptable to our state government as providing a safe product. Yes, absolutely. And so there's a list of all of those. And the other thing to be wary of is if it's too good to be true, if you're buying online, it's expensive ultimately, and a lot of people are intimidated by spending a lot of money for something they're not sure how they're going to do with it.
Sure.
But they'll see a product that's, say, $150, and they'll say, oh, I found it online for $10. Truth is, if it's too good to be true,
It's not real.
yeah,
And it could be bad for you.
exactly. A lot of times people will be trying to sell products they couldn't otherwise legally sell.
So tell me what you've seen out there.
We've sent out products from other places all over the country to labs for verification. We've seen things from $100 bottles of olive oil being sold
Good gosh.
to things that will get you high, things that had THC in them. Most likely people had the product and they needed some way to move it, and so they said, well, we'll just sell it as CBD and get rid of it. Or even things that contained heavy
Which
metals.
is illegal, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're selling someone a bottle of Coke that they got drunk off of.
Right.
Or something that has heavy metals, pesticides, microbes in there that can make you sick, ill, hospitalized even. So those are the things that we've seen in products that have just been sold in a lot of these other states that don't have regulation. And it's the Wild West. People are selling anything they can as fast as they can.
It's fascinating. So a lot of people are getting screwed is the bottom line.
Yeah, screwed
so
or hurt.
The safest way to do this, if you want to, is to go into a store and you ask to see their license to sell it. It's from the Alcohol Tobacco Commission.
Yeah.
And you can look at the bottles, you see scanning, you can scan it, contact the laboratories if you want to make sure it is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's how you know it's safe.
Be
Anything
safe.
else?
The other big thing is, if you're on medication, you should talk to your doctor about it, because there hasn't been a ton of research in this. While it's generally considered safe, the federal government has allowed it to be, taken as a supplement. They haven't done specific studies on every drug interaction there is, and your physician may know better.
So if you're already taking medications, no matter what it is, you need to talk with your doc about it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I see you've got 5 or 3 bottles and 2 jars. Tell me what this is. I mean, how do you get this stuff? And apparently it comes in different forms.
Yeah, so in Louisiana, you can't buy anything that's sold as a drink or as a food, because the federal government even has said that that's not legal. So instead you're allowed to take it as a tincture or as a topical.
Meaning you put it on your skin,
Yeah,
topical, which is the cream, obviously.
A lotion, a cream, something
Okay.
that has, we use like a pharmaceutical base to actually drive the CBD in through your skin, to get it locally to where you need it. Or they have it as a tincture. The oils, you want to put them under your tongue, hold it there for a minute for it to absorb into your body, and then swallow it. Or there's some companies like we have is a nanotized water-based product. So instead of having to hold it under your tongue, you can just take it directly.
Interesting. So
Absorbs
there's a
quickly.
different way to take the CBD oil versus, I guess, CBD water?
Yes,
Is that
absolutely.
what you call it?
Yeah, and oils don't absorb easily, right? And if you eat something that's high in fat, your body doesn't absorb it quickly, but water absorbs very, very quickly. And so the water-based products actually pull the CBD with them as they're absorbed into you. Versus,
So how do you know what the dose is? I mean, how do you know what you're supposed to take? Can you OD on this stuff?
you can't OD. That's one of the
Meaning
beautiful
overdose.
things. Yeah, there's no way, there's never been a
I
reported
think somebody
death.
is if it's $150 a bottle, but who knows?
Well, the therapeutic dose for like synthetics that are used in the medical industry is in the hundreds of milligrams per day, which would be an entire bottle at once. So there's never been a reported death from any kind of CBD product. There is no overdosing on it. If
Are
you
there
took
any side effects at all?
if you took too much, it could give you diarrhea, it can make you cotton mouth or a little dehydrated, but nothing really too severe.
Okay. And so what the medical folks you've talked to is just hopefully it helps with some type of pain, and maybe what else?
I take it for anxiety. If I'm laying in bed, I can't fall asleep, the biggest thing is that it helps me calm down, helps me not have my mind running 100 miles an hour, and to be able to fall asleep on my own, but it's not sedating.
Right.
So,
So
if
you're not
dur-
guaranteeing folks, hey,
It'll
it's going to
put
help
you
with
asleep.
anxiety or put you to sleep. You're just
It can help with some of that stress and anxiety. It can help with pain. We have a lot of people who take it because they say it
Keyon,
does.
fantastic. Mr.
Absolutely.
Janani, it's
Thank
a
you
pleasure
so
learning
much.
about this stuff. We're talking about CBD oil with Keyon Janani. See you next time.